The question is, how do we define what is cake and what is bread? What distinguishes bread from cake? So I know that everyone here is sure that they can tell what is cake and what is bread. You take it to you and you know, you look at it, you taste it, you know if it's cake or bread. We have to put aside our own biases and what we're accustomed to seeing and to see what the posek can say in regard to the definition of cake, and then we'll get back to how this plugs into our practice halacha l'maisa. But it's impossible to begin the discussion unless we put aside the fact that we're accustomed to defining cake in certain ways, and we have to be open-minded as to what it says in the Rishonim and in the Poskim. What is cake lahalacha? Well, we know that bread is flour and water. And hamaitzi you make on bread that's made from flour and water. On the other hand, we know that other things, noodles are made of flour and water. We don't make hamaitzi. So you say noodles is different, it's cooked. All right, so bread is made from flour and water and it's baked. However, there's some breads that are not just flour and water. There are breads that have other ingredients, that have yeast. Egg challahs have eggs. Challahs have oils in them. At what point does a challah, which is flour and water, become a cake? At what point, if you put raisins in, is it a cake? At what point does cake become cake? And at what point is it bread? So the poskim bring down this discussion as regards to the definition of nekudim. Nekudim is obviously not bread. The Posek says, Asara lechem u'nekudim. There were bread, there were breads, and there were an additional nekudim. What are nekudim? So let's learn the taich. And what we'll see is lahalacha, as is brought down in Shulchan Aruch, there are three separate opinions as to how to define the word cake. What makes something pas haba b'kisnin? What makes it cake? Three distinct opinions. The first, let's look into the Mitzudas. The Mitzudas teaches nekudim pas yavesh mituval b'tavlin, that it's a dry type of a bread which has in it spices, has in it other ingredients outside of the flour, the water, maybe the flour, water, and yeast that are part of traditional breads. And this defines cake. I think most of us would say that that makes sense. You take flour and water, and you throw in other ingredients, and you get sponge cake or marble cake. So that would define cake. Mitzuda says it was pas yavesh, because the word nekudim implies dryness, as we see in Yehoshua, which is something we have to see in Yehoshua. But Rashi, in Mesechtes Brachos Daf Mem Aleph Amud Beis, translates pas haba b'kisnin. He translates kisnin that it's pas hamituval b'tavlin harbe, a bread that has in it many spices, many other things which give taste to the particular food. And this is also Shitas HaRambam. What defines cake? A dough which has in it other tavlin. There is a tremendous difference between the minhagim of Sfaradim and Ashkenazim as is regards the dinim of Borei Minei Mezainis. Being an Ashkenazi who sang a shir in the Sfaradi Beis HaKnesses, it would be dangerous for me to presume that one shita or the other is right. You have to ask me that in the Ashkenazi Beis Medrash. I've noticed that in Rabbi Ovadya Yosef's Truvis, every Truva he has, it ends up that the Sfardim are right. So no one can complain to me if I bring rayas to the Ashkenazim. No, Rabbi Ovadya Yosef's shoulders I don't have. But to say over rayas, at least, it would be legitimate. Lamaisa, there is a machlokes between the Beis Yosef and the Ramah, as in how to translate this first type of cake. The Beis Yosef says, what makes a bread? Bread is flour and water and yeast maybe. What makes it into cake? It has other ingredients. How much? He says in Siman Kuf Samaches, Stam tavlin hainu afilu ma'at. Even a small amount of other spices or other ingredients that give taste would render a bread dough into a bari minei mezainis.